Hey everyone, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop, and today we are very excited to announce the release of our 1/200 scale Titanic crane set, 3D printed in resin. Alright, so the idea, same with everything that we do, I want to try and save myself a ton of time, and of course all of you. Those of you who remember on my client's build, when I built the cranes, I spent a ton of time folding the photo etch, working with the resin parts, working with the photo etch, painting everything, then trying to get the cranes to line up, the ones on the well deck and the poop deck. They weren't meant to go that way. Then I had to custom make little blocks that went in between, and just, it was a huge production. So I'm happy to announce that we have them here 3D printed and ready to go. This set that I put in front of you, I painted up. In this video I'm going to show you how I release them from the sprues, and how I paint them up, and how I've rigged them without the photo etch. So, a couple of things I want to talk about. One, I'm going to insist that you get a hot knife. A hot knife can be had on Amazon for $13 to $14. It's a soldering iron that simply has a X-Acto blade in the end of it. The X-Acto blade heats up super hot, and it will slice very nicely and carefully through all the supports to remove them from the model so you have your piece. These cranes have one very, very delicate part in particular, and that is the little leg supports. I wanted those modeled so that you don't have to put these things together and then do the photo etched leg supports and braces and put them in and try and make it all work together. They're modeled here, they're ready to go. The only thing is they're incredibly fragile. If you're going to break something on this, I would not be surprised if that is in fact what you bust off. But if you do, you can glue the piece back on, or you do have your photo etched pieces available, and you can just go ahead at that point and fold them up and make them work. But if you work very slowly and carefully, you'll end up with ready to go drop in position cranes that are all set. So for designing these things, there's a couple of great Facebook groups out there where there's a bunch of research that's been done. Well, this one guy did I'll scroll here, he did a post with a bunch of reference material that was super helpful, and then obviously leaned heavily on the Titanic, the Ship Magnificent, the books to get the stuff right. So I did all that, and then these do include the crane hooks, although I didn't show them installed on this because this is just a demonstration. But you get the crane, a ton of crane hooks actually, way more than you need in case you lose them. On the A-deck cranes, I printed the ladders onto the crane base, and that's because all you gotta do is paint it white and then touch them up. The ladder's black and you're good to go. The well deck cranes, you gotta paint the orange around them, or sorry, the White Star Brown, the brown buff. Mast Red, that's the name, Mast Red. You got to paint that on there so the ladder's out of the way, in the way. You'll have to install the photo etch one. The KA photo etch ladder will fit the best. I included little divots to try and help attach them. I could have put the ladders on the poop deck crane set. I was concerned that with the legs and everything and handling it for painting, that they would be in the way. So those have been omitted. So you only have ladders installed on the two A-deck cranes. So you'll have to install 6 ladders. Everything's kind of a compromise. I'm trying to save as much time as possible and ease the build process at the same time. And so you get, there's a give and take everywhere basically. Last comment I wanted to make was just be careful with these things. Just go slow and take it easy. I talk at great length about the time this saved me later in the video. This whole thing can be painted up and ready to go if you take your time and you're free one day. I mean, if you can get the paint to dry, that's the biggest time hurdle, is waiting for the paint to dry. I didn't have extra decals for the cranes, but if you've got a decal set, the spots right there for the plaque where you put the information on the crane, yeah, that's it. They're meant to save you a bunch of time. So all of this is for sale on our website, www.themidwestmodelshop.com, along with everything else. And I'll put a link in the description down below to this product specifically, but it's a real small website. You can't miss it. And I think that's about it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. You can do that through the website. Leave a comment down below here. And yeah, press it on. Let's go ahead and put these together. Well, folks, here we go. So when you receive your crane set, it's going to be something like this, except in the version I'm going to be sending out, there should be some side protectors, with the exception of like maybe 3 sets. 3 of you may get them just like this. The side protectors aren't anything special, just snap them off. So they are labeled. This is the poop deck crane assembly, ready to go, and then this is your well deck, forward well deck, so this goes in the front, and then over here in the back, aft well deck, starboard crane, and this is designed to drop right into position nicely, and then this is the port side, and then you have your A deck, starboard crane, and port crane as well. The one difference with these, if you turn it here, you'll see that the ladder is printed on it. The reason I got away with putting a ladder on this one, on these two, both of these, is because they're just painted white, right? You don't have to do the orange or the, what you call it, brown that goes around there. And so this you could paint white, come back, we'll demonstrate it. You could hit the ladder with a black brush and you're off to the races, right? The other ones, though, because they require the orange line, you're going to have to put your photo etch ladder on it. But what we did do, you see right there, is we did put that stupid little top rung on there. I say that because, man, is it a pain to mount that little thing on photo etch. So those are installed on all of those for you, so you don't have to worry about monkeying with that. You just gotta, once you're done painting, put all together. So that's kind of the big thing. Now, part of the reason there's protectors, this one I knocked off already. Every one of these has the little end weight, the little crane hook that attaches, at the end of the crane. And you need, so here's the thing, you need 1 per crane, which is why on the individual ones I gave you 3. On the big 2 I gave you 4. So you have lots and lots of extra. Here's the thing though, they're stowed up underneath, and I don't know, like on this one there's no way to put the one in here that goes in between. You could hang the one on the bottom for the bottom crane, but not the one that's on top, unless you get really creative. Regardless, I mean, you're paying for it, it's there, we modeled it, it's got the clasp on here. Let me see if you could see that. The little hook protector, right? I mean, it's all there. It's very nice. So the first thing I would do is carefully remove those, which you can do by just knocking it off like that, like I did, and then it kind of goes flying everywhere. So hang on to it with your little cutters. And what I would do with these, once you've got them loose, I'd gather all of them up off of every single one of these and put them in a little container so that they're safe. Alright, so here is your typical little crane that you're going to have, right? And it's time to remove things. So first thing we did was get rid of the crane hooks. So now let's go ahead and start cleaning things up. And again, I'm going to use my hot knife. It's heated up hot, and we'll start pulling stuff away from here. The most fragile part is these legs that support the whole thing. If I was going to guess, that's the thing you're most likely to break. So what if you break it? Use the photo etch ones in your kit. That's what. There are copies of that. You're going to use the photo etch kit anyway until this thing came along. So they work as a reasonable backup. And when you're done, I know if you break one, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's the worst thing ever happened. When you're done, no one's going to be able to notice. Yes, you might know, but this is about finishing the kit in a timely fashion and having really nice looking parts when you're done. That's really the the big idea, right? So for the legs, I like to take my hot knife and just very carefully slide up underneath. And as you can see, there's a little bit of a give because, yes, my resin does have some give. And then go in underneath here and slice away the bottoms so we eliminate any chance of them coming apart, right? All right, now there is a leg, a support right here in the middle on these little ones. You flip around the other side and they're accessible. Let me get my focus here. And I don't know if you can see right up underneath there, there's that little grab handle deal. We modeled that. I'm going to cut right by it. And hopefully, there we go, we don't lose that. And then away from everything and pop that out so we've got that little handle detail up underneath in there. See that? I apologize if this came out of focus. I'm doing the best that I can here. Now it's really kind of a matter of sliding along. When you do this, get your soldering iron, make sure it's good and hot. I am going to recommend that you go extremely slow. Don't have coffee jitters. Don't do this when you're super, super excited about the kit and the parts. Maybe just do one at a time. And I'm saying all that because if you can preserve this and not break anything, if you're here with your knife and you slip and you knock all of these off, you're going to get really frustrated and be upset. And I'm trying to encourage you to do things that will not cause you to break things and be upset. So slow and steady wins. Do one at a time. Take your time, you know, and it will go well. All right, so there are these little tiny supports up underneath here, and you'll see them for sure on the poop deck and forward well deck one where they're doubled up. I had to put them in there to maximize the chances of these things printing straight. When you come over to the other side and on the other ones, make sure you're careful to avoid cutting off the handle right there. So we've got little supports for our equipment underneath, and like so. And again, these are the ones that I did remember to put the ladders on. I apologize that I did not include them on the poop deck cranes. Those are the only other ones I could have gotten away with leaving them on. So it's not the end of the world to take your photo etch crane or ladder, and stick it in a position. Really, this little loop is the worst photo etch piece to put on as far as the ladder goes, and having it there, well, it makes ladder positioning easy and it saves you a bunch of time. So in the middle of all of them, there are 4 supports that you will not be able to get to quite so easily by slicing through like this. So what you're going to have to do is make sure you get all the outside edge ones loose. So the whole thing's loose now. Mind the ladder with your fingers. Get a little twist and it'll come right off. See, those are the supports that are in there. Flip it over. There's one support left. I'll just knock it out of there. Okay. Now, this bottom is going to always look really ugly. It's not a big deal though. Give it a little sand just to make sure everything's level. We're not going to be looking at this on the kit. And let's see here. So I've got a little remnant on that foot right there. I'm going to use my side cutters very carefully here. Snip that off. You could sand it. And then there you go. There's a crane sitting there and ready to be moved on to the next step. So again, please go very slowly and get it to this point. I did leave one on, let me pull it up here, forward weld deck. I left this one on because we're going to paint the orange thing, and I thought, well, what if I just leave it on here and we come and cut this off afterwards. I'm doing that as an experiment. You know, it's protected. You can easily paint everything just fine with it being the way that it is. So yeah, we're going to take a look at how that works out. But we'll go ahead and continue on with this A-deck crane here. We're going to do the details next. So the one thing we got to look at is the railing. All right, so for the next little part, you notice here that the railing is missing. I was able to get the posts, but we can't do the railings. So solutions are, take your photo etch that you have either in the kit or wherever and go ahead and just connect it to the post there. But if you turn it ever so, and you look very carefully right there, hopefully you can see on the screen that there is a hole through both of these. Yes. You know where I'm going with this. So I have this wire. Let me show you. All right, from Miles Supplies, brass wire, 0.08 of an inch in diameter, HO 3/8 inch. It's this little brass stuff, right? From Detail Associates. Just do a little Google searching and you can find this stuff, and yes, there you go. So I have a little length of it. It is cut right here. So what I'm going to do is move this out of the way, reach around. I have my little wire benders here. So you want like a straight run. Actually leave plenty of extra. And we'll do like a 90. I'm sorry, that was out of shot here. Like a little 90-degree bend right here. Leave a little bit of a curve. I think this is about right, and go a little bit more, like yay. And then I'm gonna poorly measure my distance here. We're gonna call it right about there, and I'm just gonna bend it again. So we get something like this, right? That's pretty close. I think we're pretty good there. All right, and I know we don't need all this extra. So we'll begin by snipping that off. And then we come back here, grab some tweezers, and let's see here, yeah. We'll just go ahead and slide it right on through. And then it terminates, so it's supposed to sit under that little piece right there, and you can see I've got a little bit of extra. So what I'll do is I'll snip that off so that it fits underneath right here. And yeah, we want it to go, of course it's swinging because of the hinge area there, but like that, there we go. That's how we want it to terminate for now. So let me get a little dot of CA glue, and I'm going to flip this over so it doesn't go anywhere. And we'll put that little dot of CA glue underneath there where that wire's at to hold it in position. And then I'm going to put another little dot of CA glue right here. And maybe right there. That's enough. So it sets up. Now, I made this mistake the first time until I started looking at some pictures. Don't trim this. Look at your reference photos. The ones that I saw, this handrail actually extended out probably another foot or so. So we'll snip it like that. And we'll leave that extra on there. So now you've got your scale accurate, looks fancy hand railing, okay? And you'll have to do this for all of them. Not too big of a deal. It helps if you have the right size wire, or you can go ahead and just utilize the photo etch in your kit. The next thing would be to prime these up and paint them. So let me go ahead and I'll whip up the rest of these, and then yeah, we'll just get some primer on here and we'll start painting. Alright, before we go to paint, here's a quick look at everything. You can see we've got all of our little handrails installed in each one of these. I'm not going to do the photo etch metal primer on here, although that is the best method. These are nice and clean. I'm going to go to my Tamiya liquid surface primer. This is white. It helps because these are going to be painted white afterwards. So that's it. We'll go ahead. I'll come back with the white primer on. Alright, here is a white crane. It is flat white. I primed it with the white primer I talked about before, and then I hit it with Tamiya flat white, which is what I used on my Titanic build that I'm not done with yet. We're going to get to that, and my client's Titanic build, which is finished. So the next thing to do is paint the gray area here of the deck. At least that's what I'm going to do, up on the workstand here and the platform. Use whatever color you feel is appropriate. I used light ghost gray. There's the FS number. This is a Model Master paint. It's enamel. Of course, you can use any light ghost gray color that you think is appropriate. So this process isn't particularly terrible here. I just use a brush and go ahead and lay it down flat. Make sure you have a nice brush. Make sure your paint is thin well enough to kind of spread around and cover, and just do your best brushing job that you can. Now, someone can correct me in the comments. I don't remember. I thought when I was doing this that this was actually concrete up here, or a concrete color was what the shipbuilders put in position. I'm not sure. Obviously, this deck up here where they work is not concrete, but I think the tops of the platforms may have been. I'm not sure. But that's the color that we're going with, is this light ghost gray. I like it. I think it looks like a brand new color. I think it complements the flat white really well. And then, you know, we're going to use flat black here for our ladder and the rung on top, and it will look good. So there you go. Now you got to get in here. This is where you just have to use good brush skills. Come in on the side, get underneath that equipment right there, and then when we're done, anything that's over, you know, where I got something splashed over on the side that I didn't want to be gray, we're just going to touch it up easy peasy with some flat white where it shouldn't be, anywhere it shouldn't be. And then we got to touch our levers real quick here. I think we're going to make those black. Got to double check my colors there. That's it. And if that was all blurry, I do apologize. We'll go ahead and let that dry up. Alright, with everything set, you're going to need to get yourself some flat black paint and a very pointy little paintbrush. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint the tops of the handles here. There's this little crank, and then, sorry about that focus there, little crank, and then these two levers. We're just going to get some black paint on them. So now, very carefully, you've got your little ladder run. You're just going to go ahead and plop some paint on the top of it right there, and then it should be good. You're going to have to turn it sideways here a little bit. No big deal. I had thought, like, if this is a nightmare for you and you're like, I just can't do this, I can't paint this. First of all, if you just glop some black paint on here, do it the opposite of me, and then come back and touch up the gray, you shouldn't have any trouble. There's a gazillion ways to skin a cat and make this process easier for you. All right, next up is our ladder here, and this isn't actually too bad. I start on the outside, just turn it so that you can see, and carefully work your way down. All right, so I've got some paint to touch up in there, some white, but not a big deal. Set it down and let it dry, and there's your ladder. Obviously, pre-paint the photo etch ones and stick them on. It might be easier. I'm trying to make certain steps a little less fussy, because this has been a simple process. It's just been a few coats of paint so far, right? So let me get that touched up, and then we'll move on to the rigging. The only other thing I want to mention real quickly, I don't have the So here's like where you would put the crane decal, if you've got that. I don't have an extra one of those to put on there, but well, looks like I knocked a little corner off there. But that's where it would go, and you could even, I'm tempted here to just like lightly scribble something. My paint brush is dry, but if you could put something on there, that'll look good. Worst case scenario is give it a all light little wash. So let me touch this up, and then we'll come back for the next part. All right, so now we have basically all the painting done, right? I can't do anything about the decal that I would put back here, like I mentioned, but you know, we're good. So the last thing really to tackle here is the rigging that goes down. You're going to have a cable that runs down the middle for your crane hook, and then you're going to have your two side cables for lifting the crane up and down. I am not going to put the hook on the bottom and do that rigging. You'll see what I've done here, and it's just taken a bunch of time, and this is just a demo. It's not my finished product for my build. I'm trying to just show you what to do. So most of you should have some sort of photo etch kit, and that photo etch should include these lines, which will make them nice and consistent and easy to install, and I'm sure you can make it work. If you don't have that though, you're just going to have to rig it. So I'm using my fly wire here. This is the stuff I'm using. It's black. What's great about this is it will not evaporate in UV light. It's fine for the sunshine, but it does not stretch, so you have to cut exact lengths of it. The other potential downside to it is it's flat. It's flat on one side and then wide on the other, but that's the same story with Easy Line too, so not that big of a deal, but I like it, and it's going to work for our example right here. So let me cut some 3 lengths, and I'm trying to do this with a camera in front of me, but get yourself some CA glue. Make sure you have some accelerator on hand. We'll go ahead and put a little glue here. I like to start in the middle first. We'll just put that like this. You can see we're attached. Drop a little accelerator down here because I don't want to be here all day. Turn it sideways. Place a dab of CA glue right here, right where the hook connects, or I'm sorry, the crane lifting rods connect. And I try to go at a little bit of an angle here because I want to encourage I don't have enough glue there. To get those kind of curved, droopy cable lines, I want to encourage the line to go the right way. Bed that in there at that angle. That's going to be fine. A little excessive on the glue, but again, just a demo here. Spin it around and repeat. I was talking to Nora yesterday about all of this. She came down while I was doing a little work, and I was like, man, this is taking me longer than I want. I want to get this video done, and I want to get moving on to my next thing here. And I realized, as frustrated as I was about not being finished with this, you'll see this whole segment that I'm doing, I have like no time invested in this. Basically, I spent about 45 minutes cutting them out, right? And then I was done for the day. And then the next day, because I had things going on, put a little drop of glue here. We're going to continue working with this center line. But I had things going on. I came back to it the next day. In the morning, I just grabbed everything and shot primer on it. That took, like 15 minutes, including monkeying around with the airbrush and the paint and everything. And then when it dried, I threw on a coat of flat white, which was real quick. And then, so see how we got kind of that angle going there. And then after that happened, I just kind of had to sit down and paint all the little things. I mean, I have no time in this. Just a few hours, maybe. I mean, if the paint dried quickly, if you've got a method, this can all be done, the entire set of cranes, in a casual day. And I remember when I was working on my client's Titanic and I did the forward cranes, so there's that, you know, easily several days involved in bending the photo etch, painting everything up, trying to get it all to align, and then figuring out where am I going to put everything, and then including the little blocks. Remember that the little wooden blocks that you got to put on the, well, you're supposed to have for the spacers where the two cranes overlap each other. Trying to get the two cranes to overlap and line up with each other, because they're not meant to. When the photo etch was made, that was not a consideration. Filming it, obviously you guys don't have to film it. Just, I was like, this is a breeze compared to that. There's nothing to be complaining about here. So, yeah. When we get back on my Titanic build, I will be doing this again. Or I'll just hang on to these. Probably the smart thing to do. Okay. There's a crane. Right? That's your, I don't know if that's A-deck starboard side, but that's crane. Looks good, easy to go. Let's look at all of them. All right, here's all of them, basically how they'll go on the ship. The last comment I wanted to make, so I painted the little wooden blocks that go in between each of the little supports right there. Hopefully you can make that out, see how they're nice and tan and they're in there and they're ready to go. I did want to say that this one that I'm holding in the background here, my experiment worked. This was the easiest one to paint, leaving it attached to the base like this. So now I just have to very carefully remove it with a hot knife and we'll be ready to go. It's probably obvious that, you know, holding it like this, holding a crane like this or trying to paint it, manipulate it, is more difficult than grabbing this whole thing. You're more likely to snap off one of these legs. And just one more time, a reminder, this is the most fragile part. They have a little flex, they'll give, they won't just instantly snap off, but they are the most fragile and exposed piece. Leaving them on like this gives them a lot of extra protection until you're ready to install them. If you snap this off, you can try and glue it back on. Also remember, all the kits have a photo etched version of these legs that you can use to replace the part with. So, you know, you're still, there's an out. If it's not a total loss of everything, right? So that's it. Let's look at it on my ship, as far done as it is. All right, this is the back of my Titanic. Those of you probably have not seen it in a long time who follow the channel, but just go ahead and drop in our, no glue obviously, just go ahead and drop in our cranes though in their spots. A-deck cranes, remember the ladder goes to the front of the ship, to the bow, so they just sit like this. This isn't anything too fancy. Alright, set like this, and then same thing down here on our poop deck. Drop this crane in. And again, I could have put the ladders on these poop deck cranes, but I was worried that handling it and swinging it around, you would have broke them off, and it's no big deal to just go ahead and attach those anyway so they look nice, right? Here's your cranes, those are it and installed, easy peasy. Let's go ahead now and look at the forward well deck. Alright, my forward well deck is not particularly exciting at the moment, but that's okay. This is where this guy goes. like so. And as you can see, this middle strut will drop down very nicely right in between where the two winches go in the front of the ship. So that's it. Nice and easy. Way the heck back there are the other cranes. And that's it. So that's it. I hope this is helpful and encouraging and something that will save you a tremendous amount of time and end up looking really, really nice, easy to do, and add a lot to your model. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Again, these are available on themidwestmodelshop.com. All right, guys, see you next time.